people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. I have it on good authority, very good authority, via two separate sources. The Top Rank is currently in the process of finalizing the fight between Senicia Estrada, 2-division champion Senicia Estrada, versus 3-division champion Yo Costa Valle for what would be the undisputed minimum weight title fight, set to go down in late March, presumably in Arizona, at least per what I'm being told.
Being honest with you guys, I didn't think it was gonna happen.
I honestly felt Yo Costa Valle is waiting Senicia Estrada out, waiting for her to outgrow minimum weight, leave the division, vacate her titles, at which point Yo Costa would then pick them up by fighting someone else. Someone who is more beatable. So if the rumors are true, and she is going to fight Senicia, presumably in March, late March, I have to give her credit. I have to give her credit for even taking the fight on, even if I don't think she's going to win the fight, and I don't. I don't think there's anything Yo Costa Valle does better than Senicia Estrada, and it's not because Yo Costa isn't a good fighter. She's a good fighter, a very good fighter, a great fighter even.
Yeah.
A 3-division champion.
Yeah.
But she is just not on Senicia's level.
And that's what this fight is gonna show.
It's kind of like the Tina Ruprecht fight that Senicia had for what was Tina Ruprecht's then WBC title. Tina is a great fighter, a multifaceted fighter, a multi-layered fighter, a great fighter.
Yeah.
But against Senicia Estrada, she couldn't do anything. Senicia outclassed her, and I think she's gonna outclass Yo Costa Valle. Boxing fans often living in extremes.
Tina Ruprecht is a common opponent between them, as was Maria Santizo.
And Annabelle Ortiz and Deborah Rengifo. They share a good number of common opponents, Yo Costa and Senicia. And what is consistent is that Senicia consistently outperforms Yo Costa Valle, that she does much better against these opponents than Yo Costa does. When Yo Costa fights them, it's competitive. When Senicia fights them, it's one-sided. And I understand that in the sport of boxing, triangle theories don't work. But when you share that many common opponents, it stops being a triangle.
Where Yo Costa lost to Tina Ruprecht, not only did Senicia beat her, she beat her in one-sided fashion.
Where Yo Costa fought both Maria Santizo and Deborah Rengifo to a points decision, Senicia knocked them both out. And where Yo Costa Valle had a competitive fight with former champion Annabelle Ortiz, Senicia outclassed Annabelle Ortiz. She made it look easy. So I reiterate, when you have that many common opponents with someone and you regularly outperform them, it's not a triangle theory anymore. It's not all based on one common opponent. It's several. And what is consistent is that you're doing better against these same people than the other girl. And that's because you're on a higher level than she is.
Senicia Estrada is on a higher level than Yo Costa, but it's not because Yo Costa's a bad fighter.
No.
Against almost anybody else in this division, Yo Costa wins. Just not against Senicia.
It's not because she's a bad fighter. It's because Senicia is so good, she can make even a really good fighter look bad.
I'm told it might go down in Arizona.
But I would have expected it to go down on the West Coast. I would have expected it to go down in LA. I don't know if it's going to be the main event or a co-main event to something else, to someone else's fight. But it's about the best fight that you can make at this weight, though I expect that Senicia, she's gonna make it lopsided.
She's got too many tools for Yo Costa, and she's already a much better physical specimen than Yo Costa. More athletic and a stronger puncher, faster in the exchange.
Along with being the better boxer, and she is the better boxer of the two, the more fundamentally sound fighter, but also more nuanced as well. So I expect Senicia Estrada to win a points decision in lopsided fashion against Yo Costa. And I reiterate, It's not because Yocosta's not good. It's because Sinisia's just better. In men's lightweight news, William Zepeda versus Maxi Hughes is in talks, Hughes has revealed, and could take place on March 16th in Las Vegas as an IBF lightweight final eliminator to determine the mandatory challenger for the winner of the upcoming Vasyl Lomachenko versus George Kambosos fight, and the vacant IBF title, Devin's old title. It's going to be on the line in that fight. That's expected to go down in April in Australia. Things are definitely getting interesting at 135 pounds, aside from the same old tired conversations and just waiting for Gervonta Davis to finally fight one of his contemporaries, someone who can fight back.
I don't want to talk about Gervonta.
Zepeda versus Hughes pits the mid-range to inside pressure guy, the volume guy, versus the outside fighter, the pure boxer. That's what Maxi Hughes is.
He's a pure boxer.
A moving target, a mobile fighter, and outside jabber. They're both southpaws, William and Maxi, but they have very different ways of fighting a fight. William Zepeda, he's your according to Hoyle, mid-range to inside pressure guy, volume guy, though for me and my money, more nuanced than, say, an Isaac Cruz.
He's a pressure guy, too.
Just a lot more rough around the edges, a lot more basic than William Zepeda. And as stated, William Zepeda stylistically, oh, that's a nightmare for a guy like Maxi Hughes. William's all wrong for that guy. Maxi doesn't have the volume or the firepower to keep William off of him. That's why so often when we see pressure guys in there with pure boxers, usually the pressure guy overwhelms them. Usually the pressure guy wins. And the pressure guy's going to win this fight. William is going to steamroll Maxi Hughes.
Maxi, who when last we saw him, he got a raw deal. He got robbed in the George Kambosos fight. For me and my money, Maxi should have got the decision in that fight.
But he didn't, and now he's supposed to be opposite the ring William Zepeda in an IBF final eliminator set to go down in March on a DAZN show, which leads me to believe it's going to be a Golden Boy promotion. Naturally, Golden Boy promotes William Zepeda, one of the better unbeaten up-and-comers they have. So much time is spent talking about Ryan Garcia, and whatever Ryan's doing, he kind of takes away the limelight from fighters like William Zepeda, fighters like Virgil Ortiz, guys that are made for TV, real entertaining fighters and grassroots guys.
I relish any and every opportunity I get to see William Zepeda in action. I relish seeing him fuck people up.
Really good. Even though Maxi should have been awarded the decision in his last fight in July with George, I can almost guarantee you there's not going to be anything controversial about this fight. William is going to walk through him and run over him. Stylistically, William is a nightmare for a guy like Maxi Hughes, who has been stopped at least 2 times before.
He'll get stopped again in March if he fights this guy.
William would in effect become the mandatory for the winner of Lomachenko versus Kambosos. That's a top-ranked show that would pit William against the top-ranked fighter. It's going to be interesting to see how that breaks down when the time comes, because somebody's going to have to cross the street. Williams with Golden Boy. We all know Lomachenko's going to beat George, and we all know Loma, he's with Top Rank.
You think William can put Lomachenko out to pasture?
What I think is, the only way for Lomachenko to circumvent this guy, if he becomes his mandatory challenger, is to unify with somebody. And it just so happens that Shakur Stevenson, he's right there on the Top Rank side of things with a newly obtained WBC title. So if Loma doesn't want to have to deal with this guy, he can deal with that one.
I don't favor Loma to win either of those fights, to be honest.
Though stylistically, the William Zepeda fight would make for a more entertaining fight and a more fan-friendly fight, as it would put 2 volume punchers in the ring with each other. William is a volume guy, and so is Vasyl Lomachenko. But Vasyl Lomachenko, he's getting up there in age, he's got a couple of losses, and
William's a big, strong kid. Unbeaten. He's not a little guy who moved up the lightweight.
let's not put the cart before the horse. They've got to make this fight first. This fight between William and Maxi. And if they make it, William is going to fuck him up. Upstairs at super lightweight, 140 pounds, it seems that Ryan Garcia has caught wind of Isaac Cruz's expressed interest to fight him here. Fight him now.
No.
Now that they are both free, to which Ryan responded via his Instagram stories, "What's a pit bull
to a lion. He's a lion?
He's something. The interest is mutual, it seems, between Team Cruz and Team Garcia to do the fight, and the virtue of doing the fight is that commercially, this could be very big, perhaps bigger even than a Rolly Romero fight, in spite of there not being an alphabet title of any kind on the line in a fight between Isaac and Ryan. Commercially, this might generate more interest and more money because it would pit a Mexican fighter, a Mexican national, against another fighter of Mexican descent, especially one as popular as Ryan.
You can sell this. You can build this as a pay-per-view.
As nuanced as this might sound, Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz. Isaac, who was a late replacement for Rolly Romero because Rolly had some legal trouble. That fight shouldn't have been a pay-per-view, but because it was, that set the stage for this fight. Isaac performing as well as he did against Gervonta.
That's what makes him a credible opponent for Ryan. Nobody that Isaac fought before Gervonta or after Gervonta is anything to write home about, but because he fought Gervonta and did all right,
Better than Ryan.
and better than Rolly,
That's what makes him a credible opponent for Ryan, and perhaps more marketable than Rolly, at least in a Ryan Garcia fight, that kind of situation. And I'd wager that Garcia versus Cruz sells more pay-per-views than Davis versus Cruz than that did.
you could say the same thing about a Rolly Romero fight too.
You could.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that if you put Ryan Garcia in the ring with Rolly Romero, that might sell more pay-per-views than Gervonta sold with that same Rolly Romero.
Would be a nice feather in Ryan Garcia's cap and make it that much more obvious who the driving force really was for the Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis numbers, because Gervonta don't normally do numbers like that. You add Ryan into the equation, and now you're doing over 1 million pay-per-view buys. If Ryan fights some common opponents with Gervonta and sells more than Gervonta did,
That'll stick up his crawl.
and his fans, that Ryan Garcia fighting fighters that Gervonta Davis fought already, beat already, sells more pay-per-views than when Gervonta fought him. I thought he was the face of boxing.
Not if Ryan is outselling you.
Those same guys, and not that I think Ryan Garcia is the face of boxing, because he isn't. In this country, in this market, that's Canelo. That's established.
So, the fight is worth doing. The fight could do well commercially. The question is, can Ryan beat him? Can Ryan beat Isaac Cruz?
Yeah. When all the hullabaloo about you isn't even a fight that you won, but a fight that you lost. A fight where you performed better than people expected you to, but not well enough to win a decision. Well, you can be beaten because you've been beaten before, and Ryan can beat him in similar fashion to how he beat Oscar Duarte in his previous fight. You know, he could set up Isaac for a counter left hook the same way he set up Francisco Fonseca for a counter left hook, because Isaac is so small.
He has to get inside.
Try to, because he doesn't have the frame, the physical dimensions, to box mid-range to outside. Thus, his best bet is to get inside. So deep on the inside, he can smother the other guy and get his punches off. But in trying to do that to a naturally taller, longer, and faster fighter, he might come under heavy fire. So it's entirely possible that Ryan catches him coming in. He might look human up until he does,
But he can catch him. He can win.
and endear himself to the Mexican fans by doing what Gervonta didn't, by knocking out Isaac Cruz. And finally, a bit of news from out of the heavyweight division, a bit of information that may be flying largely under the radar, just like these two guys' careers, via No Smoke Boxing. Charr versus Pulev. Manuel Charr will defend his WBA regular heavyweight title against Kubrat Pulev in Bulgaria in March. Charr had tried to make a fight with Derek Chisora, however, that didn't materialize, and this is per Dan Rafael via his sources. In truth, beating either one of these guys, beating the winner of this fight in today's heavyweight landscape, in today's heavyweight division, no, it doesn't mean much. Both of these guys have been around too long, and they're getting long in the tooth. But the real value in fighting one of them, and the only reason we're even talking about this, is because of that WBA regular title. That title,
And whosoever holds it.
lines you up for either a shot at the full title that Alexander Usyk currently holds, or it could allow you to be elevated to full WBA champion if the winner of Fury versus Usyk decides to retire, decides they don't want to box anymore. That's the real value in taking on Manuel Charr, and I half expected Daniel Dubois or maybe Joe Joyce to be the ones to take that WBA title away from Manuel Charr. As it stands, it's Kubrat Pulev, the former Olympian of Bulgaria, who apparently found someone to finance his next fight in Bulgaria. Unbeknownst to most, Kubrat Pulev has since rebounded off that split decision loss he suffered to Derek Chisora in July of 2022. He only saw action once, just once, in 2023 against Andrzej Varzik.
And he won a decision.
He's about 4 for 2 in his last 6 fights. He won 4 fights, he lost 2. Whereas Manuel Charr, as strange as this might sound, he's on a consecutive winning streak. More of a streak than Kubrat is on, but there's more to boxing than what you see on paper. There really is. And Kubrat Pulev is likely going to beat this guy. He's likely going to knock him out. Manuel Charr has not seen action in over a year. He sat out all of last year, whereas Kubrat, he got at least 1 fight in towards the end of the year. Kubrat Pulev, he's about 42 years old. He's older than Manuel Charr. Manuel is 39, but Kubrat overall is a more well-schooled boxer, and I'd wager a more durable boxer than Manuel Charr.
Manuel, he's never been very good. He was never that talented. A remnant of the Klitschko era. Vitaly Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko.
I remember seeing this guy get knocked out real hard, real bad by Alexander Povetkin and Maris Briedis in more recent years, but Maris Briedis, he's a cruiserweight. Manuel Charr, he's not that good, he's not that durable, and I expect that Kubrat Pulev will beat him, especially in Bulgaria, that if he doesn't knock him out, he can at least win a points decision and, in effect, become WBA regular champion, which would line him up to fight the winner of Fury versus Usyk, or worse, be elevated to full champion should the winner retire.
He'll run into a brick wall before that happens.
Some major outfit with some young fighter, some fighter they're invested in, will come along and offer Kubrat some money to put that WBA title on the line. Maybe Top Rank does it for Jared Anderson.
Or Queensberry for Daniel Dubois. Maybe for Joe Joyce.
Perhaps Boxer on behalf of Martin Bacoli. But somebody's gonna come along, and somebody's gonna offer him some money to put that title at stake. That's the real value here. That's the real story. That title, even if these two guys ain't got much commercial value these days, that title does. That title, it's worth something.
It lines you up for the full one.
Don't know of any broadcast information in association with this fight set to go down in Bulgaria in March. I don't know if DAZN is going to show it or somebody else, but I like Kubrat Pulev to win. At minimum, I think Kubrat Pulev can deal with Manuel Charr and take him out, and then somebody will come along and take him out. The natural progression of things in the sport of boxing.
So guys, if you don't put them out to pasture, they won't go away.
Just keep hanging around thinking they've got one more big fight left in him, one more big performance, one more big payday if somebody don't come along and knock some sense into them.
Kubrat's gonna beat Manuel Charr, but then Kubrat is gonna get beat. It's just a question of who. Who's gonna beat him? We'll see.